heart attack, fast fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful bars and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet out. Get ready for defeat now.
Now, you're going to tell me what I want to know. Otherwise, I will do the same to the other arm, and I won't stop. I will wait for you to scream until you can't talk anymore, till you can't speak. Then, I'll pour gasoline down your throat, and see how long it takes for you to catch fire from the inside out. Or I could try something else. I could start my list. A few things I haven't done before. And we'll keep going. And if I get through the list, you will die. Now, hello everybody. This is Kiru's show here. Now, whenever we last left off with this series, Midoriya, he has gone undercover. Or, well, underground, really. He's beginning to learn a bit more from his guardian angel, since he now has time to. And you do have UA, which has finally given a statement about the Punisher. The boy was one of their students, and they can't simply just say that the Punisher is a vigilante villain who murdered and should not be a hero. He should be turned in. The boy was a student at UA, and many people being, well, interviewed and talking with the news have all given positive outlooks. You actually wouldn't suspect the guy of being the Punisher. The guy does stay late at school, too, so, yeah. The fact that he can even do vigilante work and come to school the next day not being tired, that's a pretty big thing. Not even really sure what to say. UA's public statement simply being that the Punisher, he is a vigilante, and they do not condone his methods, but his heart might be in the right place. He murdered over 500 villains. That is correct. However, he did save their students. And they all would have died if it was not for his intervention. Now, with that being said, Class 1A is dealing with, well, the loss of their friends, and what they've been going through. And you do have May. She found plans for the War Machine armor, and she's begun to tinker with it, beginning to build it, modifying Midoriya's gauntlets to fit her needs, and beginning to modify her own creations, the ones she had for the sports festival coming up. They were already somewhat complete, and she barely needs to modify anything really. Now, with that being said, let us cut over to Midoriya. It has been roughly 1 week, and he has tried to lay low and keep his head down. Now he can actually sleep a full 8 hours. And, well, stay wherever he wants, go wherever he wants. He doesn't need to hide anymore. He can work in the daylight if he wants to. However, he does prefer nighttime. Now, with that being said, Midoriya has gone out during the day, but he mostly spends his time during the day getting things prepared and getting information, collecting it and gathering it from local areas. Now, along with that, over the past week learning who Midoriya is, Mr. Something, he has done, well, something, I guess I could say. He's armed most of the people in the city that he has his hands on with this demon weaponry, the guns that can actually hurt Midoriya, since they are not human weaponry, and they are made of unknown materials. And Midoriya, he has to now deal with that. Now, a regular standardized criminal can be on the same level as him, have something that can hurt him, and possibly kill him. And well, it has made his job a bit harder. But whenever he is sleeping, his guardian angel does begin to teach him, try and instruct him on certain things. And Midoriya is beginning to focus on a thing called magic, something he never really believed in. He did used to think that magic was real as a child, but having to toughen up and, well, basically focus his imagination into more other methods, he hasn't really thought about it in years. And learning about it now all seems crazy, insane, really. His guardian angel simply informing him that magic is a skill all living creatures can learn. It's simply just harnessing an energy inside of you and converting it into something else. Midoriya being given a bit of a blessing, you could say. A blessing to learn. He is learning directly from an angel. This is his blessing. And the magic he is learning will be unrestricted. Things only angels can do, and humans can learn. Midoriya is learning faster, however, where it would take a regular human possibly decades or even, well, years. It's taking Midoriya a matter of days. And he successfully learned one ability. One that he actually asked his guardian angel about. His guardian angel has shown him the ability to turn invisible. Midoriya hasn't mastered yet. He hasn't mastered it yet, but he's getting there. And well, he's at least looks transparent. If you were to place an object behind him, you'd be able to see the object behind him. And you might mistake him for being, well, a ghost, really, you could say. Now, Midoriya does at least try and use this to his advantage, and try and perfect this ability in his sleep, and hunt down people when he's awake. Now, Midoriya, he's also been trying to avoid heroes, and his guardian angel has been a very big help. He's basically working side by side with a divine, well, creature, basically. It's all a bit crazy now that he's thinking about it. And his guardian angel has taught him, or at least talked about, different abilities he can do. The forms of magic. And even generate illusions, a possibility that wouldn't be too far-fetched. If Midoriya is already able to use magic on himself, creating an illusion wouldn't be too far-fetched. And there's even one thing his guardian angel was reluctant to tell him about. It was the ability to pull a soul out of a person's body. You can entrap someone's soul to an object, or quite simply, a thing, or another person. These abilities are not limited. You can do anything you want with it. You can quite simply even put it in a jar if you wanted to, and keep them there forever. Midoriya, hearing about that got him thinking. You can burn a person's body, but the soul will leave, completely unharmed. If you burn a person's soul, you might as well be killing them. Nothing left, nothing remaining. And that scar is one that will never heal, since it is the very being hurts. Not the person, the being. Trauma that will never go away, and will always be there, be it heaven or hell. Now, Midoriya, hearing about that, was very interested. His guardian angel, reluctant to actually tell him about this, telling him that Midoriya will simply abuse this power, and possibly even use it all the time, especially whenever he is dealing with people. This is something so bad, she wouldn't even wish it on the worst person in existence, the worst human. Midoriya disagreeing. If it's the worst person on Earth, they would clearly deserve it. And she actually somewhat, well, wants to agree with him, keeping her tongue silent. Now, Midoriya does actually head out tonight. And he's going to begin cleansing the city a bit more. As long as he keeps sin down, then Mr. Something will have a harder time doing whatever he's going to do. He clearly needs the 7 sins. And, well, luckily for Midoriya, he's an expert at eliminating sin. Now, with that being said, Midoriya is beginning to learn, and over the past week he's learned that Mr. Something is a demon. He's not human. That was something he already speculated. Along with learning a bit more information. He almost, well, killed him, but there was a high-class demon. Or possibly a mid-class, he doesn't really know. He doesn't know how to categorize them. It was stronger than those low-level things at the USJ. But it wasn't that big of a threat. He was resistant, yeah, but eventually he did break. Midoriya got information that Mr. Something was one of the angels that fell with Lucifer a very long time ago. However, it is unknown as to which one he is. So, this is clearly a very important task. And, of course, he would put it with someone he knew, someone that he trusted. Now, Midoriya, he is beginning to hunt down more people tonight, and more demons. And he does have to be careful of their weaponry. Now, as soon as Midoriya does walk into a place, he immediately gets to work. Throwing grenades in every single direction, creating grenade launchers and firing them all around. The people without quirks simply, or not people without quirks, the humans simply dying immediately, and being burned alive. While Midoriya, he watches as demons get sent flying away, and shrapnel tries to pierce into their bodies. It's simply not working. Midoriya having to get close and personal with these things. Not holding back, he uses his angelic strength that he was granted to begin to beat these things down, beating one man to death and simply slamming his body over and over again into the ground, before having to pick up another man and simply use him as a weapon. Midoriya taking a smaller guy and simply smashing him over another guy's head. And one of these demons do watch in horror, as their friends are killed. One smashed into a red paste, but Midoriya, he was able to simply, as soon as he does, set the man's leg down, and try and pick him up again, basically twist his leg off like a drumstick. And so you just drop it. The demon trying to run, and get away. Midoriya quickly pulling a gun out of his jacket, and firing into the back of the man's left leg, with a holy weapon. the demon getting sent smashing into the ground, trying to use its wings, which Midoriya firmly places his boot on and stomps the guy into the ground, beginning by telling him that he needs information. And he's the only one he thinks is left alive. He knows for a fact that the humans aren't. So tell me, what do you know about Mr. Something? Uh, listen, man. I don't really know what you want me to say. You've probably already heard well, other people tell you information. I've got nothing to say. I'm just a guy they have run around, alright? Yeah, I don't believe you. Anyways. Now, as Midoriya, he brings his hands down, and firmly wraps both of them around the base of the man's back, where his wings are, asking him this question again, telling him otherwise he is ripping them off, and mounting them on a wall. The man beginning to piss himself, quite literally. Midoriya asking him the question again. He doesn't answer. Midoriya pulling, and the man screaming out in pain. Midoriya suddenly just dropping them to the ground. As there is a loud sound, Midoriya turns, seeing as a giant demon, probably about 3 times to 4 times his size, is standing in the hole of a wall, telling Midoriya that he has a lot of nerve. Midoriya just looking at this thing, pulling out a gun and beginning to fire it off at the man, who quite simply brings up his arm. And the bullets, they do begin to try and pierce into his body, or pierce into his skin. However, the demon is a lot more durable. Midoriya immediately realizing that the guy might be a higher class demon, and simply just doing one thing. Immediately just pulling out a holy grenade launcher, and firing it at the man. As soon as Midoriya fires it, the guy immediately just swats the grenade away, out of the air. As it spins more, and whenever it hits its final spin and hits into the ground, it explodes. And Midoriya, he actually does think, well then, this is going to be interesting. Now, while the demon under Midoriya's feet is bleeding out, Midoriya simply just puts a bit more weight on his boot, and crushes the man's back. Midoriya simply just saying that he was beginning to get a little bit bored, and he's guessing he has something to do with Mr. Something, right? Well, let me tell you one thing, boy. You kill all of my bosses, men, are humans, and start to slow us down. In fact, I've even heard that a guy we knew ran into you, and he let you live after stabbing you in the gut. So, I'm stronger, tougher, and a lot deadlier than that one. And now, you've got the power of an angel. So what? That just means I get to kill something, and actually have fun. So, get on your knees and pray, and I'll decapitate you quickly. Yeah, not gonna happen. Figured. I was hoping that would happen. The demon quickly trying to rush Midoriya, who simply does one thing, beginning to fire off the grenade launcher more as the guy rushes towards him. The grenades bouncing off of his chest as Midoriya just throws them down. And as soon as the guy does throw his hand upwards and go to smash down on Midoriya just throws his hand upwards, and their fists do collide. Midoriya, he threw all he had into that punch, while this demon, he's testing Midoriya, dipping his feet into the water, you could say. And the two begin to fight. Midoriya and the demon going back and forth. Midoriya trying to outpace the man. Well, the guy's simply just trying to, strength build him. Basically, dexterity versus strength. One's mobile and fast, the other one is a one-hit kill. I feel like anyone who plays D&D will understand the reference. Now, while that's going on, Midoriya, he does actually have different ideas, and think about how to deal with it. Before the man simply just punches Midoriya across the face. Midoriya being sent flying as he smashes into a car, going through it and hitting into the wall. The guy running towards Midoriya as he hears his footsteps. As soon as Midoriya hears that, he looks up to see the man as he simply just smashed him through the wall. And the two do go out into public, as the guy simply just charges Midoriya, grabbing him and holding on as he smashes Midoriya through another wall, into a building. The two smashing into a factory. And the guy just keeps running, dragging Midoriya into all pieces of equipment, and trying to smash him against a large piece of industrial machinery. And Midoriya simply does one thing. He immediately just brings out his wings, and flaps them as hard as he can. As soon as the guy did have to try and let go, Midoriya began to flap his wings. And Midoriya began to rise up into the air. The man still holding on to Midoriya, actually trying to grab onto his wings. Midoriya immediately doing one thing. Creating a holy hand grenade, and stuffing it into the guy's mouth. The guy trying to bite down onto Midoriya's forearm, as Midoriya just pulls out a pin. Midoriya punches the guy in the face or directly into his jaw, trying to get it to open up and break. With Midoriya, he immediately pulled back his hand, revealing a cross. And the guy does feel something in his throat, as he tries to cough it up, simply just throwing Midoriya as he simply just smashes his hands into his throat and begins to move it upwards. As soon as he does throw his head forwards and begin to puke out the grenade, it was already too late. 3 seconds already passed, and as soon as the man did go to lean over, the grenade exploded directly into the man's mouth. And the guy did fall backwards. And, well, Midoriya thought he was dead. However, whenever he did go over and check the body, yeah, the guy was still mumbling. And Midoriya thinks that the guy has heavy brain damage. But the guy is quickly healing, since his words are going from slurred to somewhat something like that, you could say. And he does try and get back up, trying to stand onto his feet and trying to punch and throw anything he can at Midoriya, who simply grabs onto the man's arm and begins by pulling out a giant sword, a holy blade. As soon as the man does feel this pain in his arm, he does actually somewhat snap back to his senses. Midoriya cutting a holy weapon into the man's arm, and beginning to strip away flesh, as the man does actually somewhat scream in pain, before throwing his hand out towards Midoriya, who quite simply, as soon as he did let go, he pulled another sword out of the blade. Well, he pulled another blade out of the sleeve of his jacket, and it immediately collided with the man's knuckles. The amount of weight behind the man's knuckles and the sharpness of this blade colliding, Midoriya cut off his fingers. And the guy screamed out in pain as Midoriya immediately just went forwards, and slashed upwards as hard as he could, while the guy was distracted. He cut off a good portion of this man's arm, right directly by, well, what is it? The joint in his arm, his left one. Being able to cut off a lot of it, not all the way through though. And Midoriya did have to stab into the man's kneecap, before having to jump upwards and smash down with his elbow, smashing it down onto the man's shoulder and breaking part of it, as the arm falls off. It's beginning to dangle, before Midoriya just begins to pull and rip it off. As soon as he rips it off, he immediately smashes it against the man's face, and the man screams out in pain before falling over. This man, he went through such an extreme amount of pain that his body gave out on itself. And Midoriya does watch as a lot of people, yeah, they're at least looking at him. And Midoriya does pick up the man, picking him up by the back of his neck, and beginning by hauling him onto his shoulder. Midoriya immediately manifesting wings out of his back, and people watching as he vanishes, right before their eyes. A lot of people took video recordings, and they saw that. And well, the news had to somewhat report on it. A YouTube video, or a video on the internet, that was quite simply called The Punisher, Angel versus Demon? Yeah. It was quite the weird experience. And Midoriya, well, he's dealing with that guy. Let us cut over to UA. Now, you do have Mei Hatsume. Over the past week, she has been working on her designs, and she's gotten them somewhat operational. She's been able to connect the gauntlets onto this frame that she's made for her body. It's more like an exoskeleton now. And well, the the armor that covers her leg and, well, her kneecaps, and the boots, are at least beginning to try and work. The whole problem is the fact that she basically has to have a ginormous car battery power the entire thing. Even then, she does need to switch it on and off, or switch them out every couple of days. She's already gone through about 2. And the second one is about to kick the buckets. It uses far too much power, and she barely even runs the things. Now, with that being said, Midoriya, or not Midoriya, Mei is actually working on parts of the body. And she is getting this thing set up to her back, and a portion of it beginning to run up her spine. Now, with that being said, I do believe that I can leave this part off of here, and I do hope you guys enjoyed.